Jeff Lutz joins us today, and we're going to use 100% of his big brain because we have literal intergalactic issues to deal with today. And then closer to Earth, we have the Fed action. We have Tesla stock action. We have Elon with updates on Austin. And I don't know if you know this about Jeff. Jeff is currently a consultant to companies he can't even tell us who they are, or he'd have to kill us. We're pretty sure he can help us with the supply chain issues that undoubtedly is what gets him employed by whatever those companies are. How you doing, Jeff?
Oh, good. And yeah, I don't want to kill anybody. And yeah, there's there's just a lot of things happening that is disruptive to supply chains, whether it's what's happening just geopolitically, tariffs, conflicts, also just localization, new technology of it. It's going to be globalized supply chains, going to be localized. So there's just a lot of things that are happening that require a tremendous amount of effort. And a lot of companies definitely want either the core help or they want another set of eyes to help them construct what it kind of a next generation supply chain looks like. I mean, we're at a fairly big tipping point here with automation, humanoids,
Yeah.
the introduction of AI in manufacturing. So this could be a very important period of time.
Yeah, looking forward to when we really start to see the shovels flying and the people being employed in order to get those factories not only built, but actually running. Okay, well, just before we came on the air, we had breaking news. It's super good news. The U.S. government, this is from Reuters, the U.S. government posted a lower 173 billion deficit in November as the tariffs helped to boost revenues. What they don't say is how much the Doge helped to reduce expenses, which they should have said. The deficit last month was down 193 billion or 53% from last year's November number, but they also don't talk about there was a juggling that had to be done because when the government shut down, some of the revenues from October didn't get posted. And that's one of the reasons it's so much down in November. But you take the 2 months together, and we're down 36.5% for the first 2 months of the fiscal year. And you say,
Yeah, I mean, I say there's a lot of there's a lot of noise in the system, but I have a lot of faith in Scott Bessent and his ability to manage this with the rest of the cabinet. And I mean, he may be in terms of market mechanics and just his overall knowledge, he may turn out to be one of the better Treasury secretaries, in several decades. We'll see. We'll see how things work out, but I'm very impressed by him. And there's a lot of things happening. Yeah, you're right with Doge and with the shutdown. I mean, there's a lot of noise in the system, but I genuinely think they're trying to root out as much waste as possible in the system. I just think Doge was just getting started of like, okay, let's stop payments to people that aren't alive anymore. Let's set up payment code system. Let's do these basic things that should have been that are done in any business.
right,
But we haven't gotten to the next layer of like what should the government be paying for military parts
right.
and what should they be paying for full-on military products from all these defense contractors, and how do you go in and should cost these things? My guess is if Elon Musk was going in to buy the next fighter jet, there would be a different approach to willingness to pay and understanding what's fair to the manufacturer and what's fair to the government versus how business is done today. Not saying that we don't have, um,
Bless
excuse
you.
me, not saying that we don't have talented people there, but just I think Doge is just getting started.
Yeah, and of course, there's still Doge everywhere, but it's just at a much lower intensity. But maybe we'll continue to see some really good stuff out of that. Also today, oh, by the way, that 36.5% drop would indicate, since since the GDP also went up during those 2 months, that would mean that the amount as a percentage of the GDP would also be dropping even more than 36.5%. So that's really super. So for instance, if we were at 7%, I think was 7% kind of the number. So if we dropped by 40%, that would be 4.2% of GDP. That would be amazing.
I don't know where GDP. I don't know how we would know I know there's trackers, but I don't think we get that number right till first
Not,
quarter.
yeah, well, yeah, we got GDP now, which will for fourth quarter will be out, I think December 23rd. So we'll get to see a
Hmm.
little bit of a hit then.
Yeah.
The other big news that happened in the last few hours is the Fed. And what was your overall impression of what Chair Powell had to say today, and compared to what we were expecting, et cetera?
Yeah, I didn't view it as a hawkish cut. I viewed it as, I mean, there's some hawkish commentary, but it was to me, whatever we're calling the adding $40 billion of treasury purchases starting Friday, whatever we're calling that, and people for some reason don't want to call it quantitative easing. It's like it's like reducing your headcount in half and not calling it a layoff. I mean, whatever you want to call it. But I think I think equity markets responded favorably to that. Of course, they responded favorably to the cut. Now the cost of capital is cheaper, and now they know whatever. I always disregard whatever the Fed forecasts for inflation, whatever they forecast for cuts, because I remember in 2021, I think they didn't forecast any interest rate hikes, and we had whatever 7 in that year or 9 in that year, whatever actually ended up happening. So just their ability to forecast is terrible. So if they say one cut in 2026 or 27, I don't think the market's over rotated on any of that. I just think you have the normal markets kind of sloppy reaction up and down, but I didn't see anything crazy with the VIX. And I think generally markets will react favorably to 25 basis points plus $40 billion a month of easing. And remember, tightening ended
Ended, yeah.
about 2 weeks, about 10 days ago or so. And I mean, you're having a lot of favorable things that are stacking up for equity markets. It sounds like the president is interviewing maybe the final candidate, Kevin Warsh, today.
Mhm.
And I think he'll make a decision in the next couple of weeks. And all these candidates are very dovish and favorable to equity markets. I mean, the, the thing that could roil this up is if something crazy happens with the dollar as a result. If the bond market just reacts negatively to this selection, so it'll be interesting to watch. And yeah, I think this is a good setup. If you're a company that's making cars, or you're making energy storage, and these projects have to be financed, or cars have to be financed, every bit of rate reductions help. So we're down 175 basis points since last September, I think.
Right.
And like I said, I think next year, as soon as that new Fed chairman gets in, they're cutting. By the way, the other comment, one more, and I'll turn it
Sure,
back
sure.
over. The comment that Powell made about the BLS said we've added an average of 40,000 jobs since April, and we think it's actually we've lost 60,000 jobs per month. Well, why is there even any question of cutting, and why aren't we cutting even more? If we think we're losing 60,000 jobs a month and we've essentially lost 1 million jobs in since April, I don't know why we wouldn't be cutting more.
Yeah, I think the reason maybe is because something that I've been pointing out since months ago is if you send back 2.3 million people to their countries of origin, you don't have as large a workforce, and you also have those people aren't spending money. So that's what he mentions every time he talks about it, is that the out migration is impacting the number of people that can be hired because there's nobody to hire. And the interesting thing was this week, every report that came out this week said not enough employees with the right skill sets.
I
Um,
don't know how they track eligible for hire for people that are here undocumented. I don't know how they're in the pool of people that can be counted.
Yeah.
I don't, I know, I agree with, I agree that there's something going on here, but I just don't know how they can actually
On the
even
counter.
quantify
Yeah,
it.
right, right, right. So the other thing that Powell did, I thought, maybe I was wrong because I'm an optimist. I thought that he was very optimistic about the first quarter.
Yeah, he, he, he is. I mean, the, the economy is set up. I think we would have had a very good fourth quarter if it wasn't for the the shutdown. By the way, I mean it is clear that the Democrats got absolutely nothing for this shutdown. There was no change in any of the healthcare nothing. And so
Right,
now we still need that clock is ticking end of January, or we're gonna have another shutdown or
right.
another. I mean, so that has to happen. So hopefully if we don't have another shutdown in Q1, it should be bullish. But I mean, I think the American people should not put up with another shutdown.
No kidding. No kidding. He also continued to say, as you and I have talked about, the tariffs are just price. He says, they can be, they could be inflation, but he doesn't think they will be.
He
And
mentioned tariffs three times, so
three
he was definitely hitting.
right. And he also said that he gave us half-life dates. So he says, the first quarter, we'll still have a few percent left in it. Second quarter, they'll be mostly gone. Third quarter, they're over. So I think that'll be interesting to watch and monitor as well.
Well, inflation may be over, but if the tariffs are still on, prices will be higher, but
Yes,
they'll be it'll be a one-time move in inflation and it won't keep going up. Or there may not be any move in inflation because people may not buy as much stuff.
right,
So I mean, this is why explaining the rate of change in price versus net price
right.
is just still boggles the mind of most people. And that, to me, it doesn't take anything away from anybody. It's just,
It's
yeah, it's just
complex,
how it is. But we, I, I think, December 2025, it would be nice to see more effective work happening by the Fed and by the administration to get prices down.
Mhm.
And I don't think the Fed is actually responsible to get, but I mean, whomever, just more time on this and less time on other things. I wish Congress would be debating setting up uh, fun, committees on pricing. What if they set up 10 committees for the major cost categories for homeowners? What if there was a committee on electricity? What if there was a committee on home heating? What if there's a committee on, major food categories? What if there's a committee on auto prices? I mean, what's going on with auto prices? Why are they up? Why is the cost of an automobile now $51,000 in
Right.
the US, an average cost? And it was pre-COVID, it was $38,000. I mean, what is going on? I mean, I get it. There's going to be some amount of that's going to be in inflation, but why isn't there pressure on auto manufacturers to figure out how to make cars be less expensive? I guarantee you Tesla's not up that same order
No.
over that same period of time.
100%. Yeah. So, and some of those things are so complex that a committee might be helpful because, like utilities, are state by state, even region by region. In California, I live in Riverside. We have our own electric company,
Yeah,
and so there's a lot of complexity, and then
you're
the
right.
different agencies um, figure out what's an fair rate based on bizarre approaches. Like, for instance, how much infrastructure you build, you get to put a profit on the infrastructure build. So it incentivizes them to put in a lot of infrastructure, even if the infrastructure is not that useful. So there's a lot of stuff like that that might be able to be unwound if there was some pressure from above.
Yeah, just to me, can you be solution oriented from the federal government? You're right. A lot of this stuff is state and local, but are there regulations that the federal government could ease that help the cost structure at the state and local level? Can the federal government help weed out corruption? Can we get a really smart committee of people that understand, like, hey, something's going on here in this whole supply chain? There's something we can do. Anyway, I think it's going to be a big deal. I mean, we're talking about the Fed. Uh, this there's been some success in getting this affordability message out to voters because now it's a top issue, and it's not clear besides the price of a barrel of oil, which could be demand related. We know the price of lumber is demand related. These things that are lower, unfortunately, there's a lot of things that are pointing to demand problems versus solving structural cost problems. So if there's anyway, this has to be solved prior
Yeah,
to the midterms, or it's going to be a real problem.
you're right, 100%. Yes, for those of us who would like to see the Republicans get stay in control of both houses. Elon, speaking of being in control, I'm ready to give up control of my car completely. Elon says that we'll have the safety riders removed by month end, 3 weeks from now, roughly. What is your confidence level that that's what is going to happen this time?
I think it's going to be plus or minus a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And if it is, great,
Yeah.
because people have to understand that Elon is not predicting when a package is going to be shipped and arrived to a location. That's a very predictable thing you can do with modern technology. He is predicting when AI models are going to converge and the results of that are going to be debugged and we're going to see that improvement in vehicles and be able to spread it across hundreds of thousands, if not millions of vehicles. So that is, and he's not predicting something that's ever been done before in the world. So I'm knowing that and being informed like that, and as somebody who's had to give schedules
Mhm.
on the availability of product and supply of product, I'm willing to guess that there's going to be a guard band around this committed date. And to me, it's totally appropriate given the complexity of what's involved.
Yeah, and if we're a couple of weeks late, nobody, we would in the community, I don't think we'd even notice. It'd be like, okay, 2 weeks late, that's not bad.
I'm moving into the camp. I've been against this, but I'm moving into the camp that it's going to be a much bigger deal from a milestone perspective when Teslas are running around driverless. And I think it's going to actually be a much bigger deal to the market, but we'll see how they react.
Oh no,
It's hard to predict them.
I've been saying for at least a year that the number one biggest thing that Tesla could do is unsupervised. Yeah, as you know about me, I'm more on the product side. I'm on the marketing side, the product side. And I don't think I can't, certainly not in the automotive history, maybe, ignitions in the dash instead of doing the crank. Maybe inner tubes in the tires were a bigger deal. But I'm not sure that anything's ever been bigger than this unsupervised thing that's coming. Um,
Big
so
deal.
now we go to Intergalactic. Last night, Nicholas Gibbs asked me if I would be willing to sell my Tesla stock to take advantage of the IPO on SpaceX. I said I might sell my house, but I don't think I'd sell my stock. Anyway, what do you think? Would you sell some of your Tesla stock if you needed to buy?
I, I mean that's an individual decision for individual investors based on their time horizon, their situation, their risk tolerance. So to think that there's going to be some mass exodus of Tesla, it's going to depend on what's happening with Tesla at the time. If there's this crazy expansion of robotaxi, if the lights turn on and all of a sudden we see 300 Optimists working in a Tesla factory and there's a camera over it showing a 24-hour live feed of it, I think you're going to think differently about your Tesla stock than you may think about it right now versus SpaceX. And by the way, have people really sat down and done detailed valuation models on SpaceX?
Well,
I
Brian
mean, these
Wang,
are literally different. These are
Brian Wang
literally
has.
different, very different companies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if it IPOs at I mean, I also like, what is it going to IPO at? If it first off, if they are going to do it, and if it does it at $1.5 trillion, like I don't know if I'm diving headlong. I don't know. I mean, so the answer is I don't know,
Yeah.
and the answer is also it's going to be different for different investors at different points in time. But I don't view it as oh everybody's going to sell this because for this because I don't know what's going to happen with liquidity in the market. What if we're at 7,500 S&P at that point and we're at 5% GD? Like, what if there could, I don't know. I mean, a lot of things that can be going on during, I mean, there's a lot of things that could weigh on the demand for that too. So, but I think 2026 is probably a good IPO year for a lot of companies.
Oh yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot of enthusiasm for for business in general. I mean, pretty much everybody you listen to, if you listen to any podcasts at all right now, are talking about 26 as just a crazy year. Just I mean, everything is kind of set up. Now maybe we get some kind of black swan and it throws everything into disarray, but assuming no major setbacks, I think it's going to be a crazy year.
It's going to be easier for these people that love to calculate how much money Elon Musk has. Now, if SpaceX is public, now they can calculate it more easily and then figure out how they want to spend his money.
Funny.
Yeah, because that's a very important priority for people
It
that
is.
if
It
want
is.
to set arbitrary caps on how much capital that people that have created more capital than at that point it would be more capital than anybody in this world.
Oh yeah.
Um, so anyway, but there's people that think they have better ideas about it. People have never built anything too, by the way,
Right.
that think they have better ideas of how to spend his capital.
Yeah, no, I think return on invested capital is something that no, almost, I mean, I bet you that it's only 1% of the finance community that understands return on invested capital. They always look at ROI instead of ROIC. And Apple Computer, I don't know if they still are, but for many years, they were at the very top of the heap on ROIC, and Tesla was moving up, but they keep spending so much more on the next thing that it's hard for them to catch up to Apple, but very, very high return on invested capital for Tesla.
Yep.
Speaking of pods, I think I've listened to a dozen pods on AI inference chips in space over the last week or two. Of course, again, Brian Wang and I have been talking about AI uh, inference chips on the moon or on Mars, even included in the book. So this is not a new concept for Brian, but the idea of putting them into space seems to have hit like a like a at least in the community that understands it and cares about it is like it's all everybody's talking about. I'm not sure if you have any experience in or expertise in the science around this, but what about because what I'm hearing on the science is it's a done deal, that there's no science that needs to be done. Some people are saying maybe on the getting rid of the heat, but then other people say, no, there's science already on how to get rid of the heat. Not a real big problem. But I was wondering, I figured you might know something about the supply chains or the difficulty of manufacturing some of this stuff.
Well, liquid cooling, any form of cooling, is one of the top infrastructure expenses, and there's also supply issues with it as well. So it is a problem, just like energy to supply these things is going to be a problem. Both of those solutions to get better in space. The thing that fascinates me, by the way, I don't claim to be an expert. I haven't thought about building infrastructure and having, setting up and having it be powered in space. That is Elon and that is his team. We shouldn't act, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like, well, of course you should do that. But what I am going to say is if he is trying to localize supply chain on the moon or other areas in space, I find that whole concept very interesting and very relatable to how he sets his supply chains up on Earth. And it's weird to start thinking about extraterrestrial supply chain, but this is ultimately what's going to happen. And what are you going to grow and mine and refine organically on the moon? And what are you going to have to transport via Starship? And how do those lead times work? And what is the cost structure? What do the landed unit economics actually look like? Because he's actually looking at the whole chain of if I could launch these from the moon, then I don't necessarily need a rocket to get them
Right.
into orbit. And so, I mean, he is thinking at a completely different level. And like I said, I've said this before. Now, this his vertical integration is now spanning all of his companies together. before it was a Tesla conversation of, oh, we have metallurgy, oh, we have this or we have that. And now it's oh, I want data centers in space. I need to power them. I have this company that makes energy. And then, oh, I need to do all the power electronics and get this working and wired up. Well, I have this company that does amazing power electronics called Tesla. And now I need to transport all this into space. Well, I have a rocket company. It just it's unbelievable the assets that he has de organically developed and vertically integrated.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I was thinking about it earlier today. If he does IPO anything over $1 trillion, he will clearly be the first founder CEO to have two companies in the $1 trillion category.
I don't think he's done.
Oh, I don't think so either. You know that I'm going to forget his. Yeah, never mind. I won't tell that story. What about the chip fabs? Any thoughts on the chip fabs? I mean, this is some people are saying this is like the hardest thing he will have ever tried. That it's not going to be a slam dunk to have them done in 4 years. Or you think based on whatever you might or might not know about it?
No, I mean, this could be a whole show. What I would say in summary is he announced it for a reason. He could have kept this under wraps, but he announced it to immediately create leverage and create an advantage for him and his companies. Because now, if you're Samsung, TSMC, other foundries, now you know that the better you are at competing, the more of this future business. Elon thinks his business is going to be so large that he can't get enough supply from everyone. So now he can have leverage over these partners to say, look, I still want supply from you, but I want more of it, or I want it at these lower lead times, or which makes me carry less capital, or I want better pricing. So he consistently, time and time again, if you study what he does as a supply chain professional or procurement professional, he is consistently creating leverage for his companies. And if you're in those functions in those companies, you have the best CEO. Now, does he create a lot of problems, probably a lot of fire drills inside of your company? And I'm sure he does.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, if you need something, if his Tesla supply chain team needs something out of Samsung or they need something out of TSMC, there's no CEO in the world that's not going to listen
yeah,
to Elon and give him something when he gets on that call. That's how it works.
yeah,
You can go back and forth with the Tesla VP of supply and they'll get something,
yeah.
but they have to save something for Elon,
Right.
and he's always going to get something. So anyway, I've never seen somebody create so much leverage. That's what he's doing with the chip fab announcement. He absolutely can create a fab and foundry. This is not you're now we're entering into things that have been done before by others, but he will approach it differently and he will drive a lower cost structure.
Okay. So, so you think that he'll use it as leverage, but in order to really
He
get,
already is.
I'm sorry, you believe he's using it as leverage, and do you believe he will build at least one in order to make sure that the leverage is clear?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Out of his 10 that he proposed.
Yeah, I think we'll have to see how things go. Yeah. There's an interesting thing, and if you're a futurist and you're thinking about what's going to happen over the next 10 years, the worst thing that could happen is you've laid all these perfectly good plans out and you do all this execution, and then some other company comes in and bottlenecks you.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's what he's thinking. He's thinking Optimus is going to be so big,
yeah,
Robotaxi is going to be so big. What did he do? The first thing he did is he said, I cannot be getting all my chips out of Taiwan. I have to get geographic redundancy. So now he's got TSMC Arizona. And then the next thing he's like, well, I can't be dependent on one company because they're going to screw me on cost. They're going to screw me on supply. So now he's dual source with Samsung. And so now AI 5 is going to come out of two continents in four different foundries, locations, between two suppliers. And that is the ultimate geopolitical. They're safe. If
Yeah.
something weird happens with Taiwan, he's got supply in the US. And vice versa. If there's a weird natural disaster that happens in Texas or Arizona, he's got Taiwan.
Okay, I have a question for you. I didn't have this planned, but as we've been talking, I realized that, my number one science source, Brian Wang, is almost as well. Sometimes he's even more optimistic than I am. And then when I listened to the WTF, the moonshot guys, they're super optimistic. They make me look like I'm going in reverse. And I've been having this trouble for a while, and I've asked Brian, I've asked others, but you're kind of a little more level-headed. I don't know if you think that's a compliment or not, but anyway, what I am having a hard time with this unlimited number, it's just unlimited amount of inference that's needed. I get they need a lot. I get that when I'm asking it to write me an article or write me a book or whatever, that takes a lot of inference, but it's already doing it. You know, so I was trying to think, okay, where is most, yes, a lot of it's going to be in medicine, a lot of it's going to be in metallurgy, but a lot of it's going to be in eyeballs. Okay. It's going to be, what am I doing with my time? Well, between all the companies, they've already got my eyeballs as much as they can ever get them, right? Because you got to work, you got to sleep, and the rest of the time you're probably on a screen. Well, you might be playing some sports or climbing a hill, but there's a limited amount of eyeball time. And so you might switch that around, and this guy gets more, and this guy gets more, but ultimately there's a limit. And I'm just wondering, I'm having a hard time seeing why we won't eventually, and maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's 10, but at some point we'll have enough compute.
I think the problem just moves and is redistributed. Uh, I think when you look at these compute laws and you look at things like power consumption, heat dissipation, size, you're going to want to continue to miniaturize. These data centers are the size of cities,
Right.
and so we're at the very early stages of this. We haven't solved any diseases. We haven't re-architected our K through 12 education system with real-time feedback. We haven't disrupted our military with AI. We haven't disrupted our government with AI and all the governments around the world. And when I say favorably disrupted, to go in and uh, and then AI is almost, and a lot of people take exception with me saying this, but I can say it and verify it, and it's almost nowhere in manufacturing. People think that they're doing machine learning tasks in a factory and think that they're doing AI, but they're just taking existing data sets and manipulating them. There's no, honestly, there's no artificial intelligence. It's very limited. So what did I name off? I named off our education system, our military, our governments, manufacturing. So it's not all people. It's the industries that do things in the background. Do you think about cybersecurity? Of course, you don't think about cybersecurity 24 hours a day. There's something else out there that is doing the work, but it's heuristically coded and managed. So that's all going to change. What's defending us? What's defending our skies? What's driving all of our cars today? Certainly not AI yet, unless you're in a Tesla. So there's a, I mean, we don't know where I don't know where the bottom is on this thing. I don't want to be the one trying to guess it either. And these people that are out there, I mean, I literally joke and laugh about some of these people that a year ago, when I'm literally looking at TSMC's fab build outs, they're pulling schedules in, the surface area of these fabs, like what they're announcing, what they're doing, all this Asia supply chain stuff, that's all of it's out there. And then these people saying, well, it looks like we're going to have a digestion phase with AI. I'm like, the first people that are going to know that are the people that are planning these fab sites out. Are is silicon, are chips cyclical? They absolutely are. But the people that know that, the people that can sense those slowdowns are the people that are doing the planning exercises for those fabs. I mean, these are the people they look upstream. You think that they're just taking orders that come in from Facebook and whatever. No, they have engineers, they have market participants that come in and try to understand Facebook's business or Meta's business or Palantir's business and say, is their demand real? Is what they're asking, and they do internal allocation based on that. So this whole world is complex, and these analysts on TV, I just look at them like there's a way to really understand the answer to these questions. You have to understand the demand side, and you have to understand what's going on supply. But I can't tell you when the bottom is going to be on inference supply. I couldn't tell you that because there's so many things that we haven't automated yet.
All right, good. See, I asked a level-headed person. I still got an optimistic answer. So apparently, maybe we're good.
Well, I mean, I think
by the
what's going
way,
to happen in this
I
space.
don't think it's within. I don't think it's within 3 years or 4 years. I just think that there is a point at which I think, maybe not. Somebody said the other day that we have hundreds of people looking, hundreds of telescopes that are bringing in data all day long that nobody ever sees, and that you could turn AI loose on that, and they could do the work of 1,000 people viewing the skies and seeing anomalies and things that we have no idea are taking place. So there is all kinds of things that this could be used for.
I mean, if you're getting your news on this or you're making your investment decisions based off of, some reporter that, went to and CNBC or Fox News, I mean, I would tell you to think twice, and I would tell you to go look for different sources. What is happening with like every time Amazon or somebody announces, oh, we're doing an inference chip, those are ASICs. Those are specific designed chips for specific applications. The only companies that have designed a generic training solution are NVIDIA and AMD. And, Huawei's attempting to do this in China, and they've got some product out there, and there will be more entrants in China. But the point is they equate everybody and their brother that announces an inference chip or some form of ASIC of like that they're an NVIDIA, and they're not an NVIDIA. And I'm not here to just defend NVIDIA. I'm not saying they're impervious either, but people don't understand how big the pie is, and they don't understand when they see redistribution what it means. People 2 weeks ago were equating Google's TPUs to an an NVIDIA NVLink system with Blackwell on it, and they're not the same thing. And if you listen to the right people and you study the right things, you would understand it. But what happened is we went into some weird hype cycle where people wanted to sell one equity and buy another. And I mean, that's what makes a market. That's what creates opportunities for people. But there's got to be an arbitrage in information closing here pretty soon, because it can't be this conventional media that just continues to misinform. I mean, we see how they misinform the public on Tesla continuously. And at some point, this is going to come to a close. Maybe that's one of the things that AI will actually do.
Maybe so. If Elon has his way, right? With X,
Yeah.
it'll be truth, or at least as close as he can get it. Jeff,
Yeah.
that's the end of my list. In fact, we had a bonus question, but maybe there's something that I didn't cover that you think I should have today. Is there anything I leave out?
No, I think we covered a lot of things, Randy. There's a lot going on. And I mean, this is a great time. There's going to be a shift in tech that, over the next year, there should be AI agents doing really meaningful tasks for people. Maybe the first disease will be cured via AI. We'll have self-driving Teslas at scale, and a lot of things will start becoming solved. We're going to get out of just being a chatbot. And I think it's a very exciting time.
All
I'm
right. Well,
excited.
Jeff, we appreciate you coming on as always. I'm going to put the show on pause for a minute and then I'm going to give you guys the numbers. So, Jeff, as always, thanks for being on.
Thank you.
So, speaking of Brian Wang, he should be coming on later tonight, everything being equal. He's at a conference and he said he will try to duck out of the conference and come and talk to us about multiple things that are on his mind right now. And we will actually have Brian bring us up to date on the technical side of where Tesla stock is. However, I'm going to give you my take. So here's what I'm seeing is that Tesla is right now at 449.53. It topped out in the trading today at 456, which is what it topped out at earlier in December. And so 456 does seem to be now a solid ceiling. I think that we will make another run at 456 tomorrow, even though we closed, as I said, at I think 451. And then in the overnights, we've dropped another couple of bucks. All right, so that's what I know about Tesla, at least what I think I know about Tesla. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the numbers we have got. Let's go ahead and take a look at the bonds. If it comes up here we go. We've got the 10-year is down 2.1 basis points to 414. So you know that my number was 415. That was the number that I said we would never go above. Well, we did for 3 whole days. Now we're under 415 again. We will not go over 415 again. In fact, I'm believing that we're going to kind of just settle down. Maybe it takes a few days. I was kind of hoping we get down to 4.10 today. That did not happen, at least not yet. There's a little bit of time to go in the pre-market, but maybe tomorrow we'll get in around 410 and then again, maybe slowly drift down into the threes. We have got oil up a little bit in the pre-market, 58.78. We've got natural gas up a little bit also at 462. All of those are not bad. I mean, oil, it would probably be better if it was up a couple of bucks, but it's not horrible yet. If it drops down to like 56, 55, you're going to see some people start to cap wells. That's got to happen for a few weeks. They're not going to cap them the first day. All right, we got gold down. Up 32.60 in the pre-market to 42.57 in a range where it's been sitting. But silver, I know I said this. I said last night, silver has got to be reaching a high here. 62.24, up another 2 percentage points. $62. Copper up 0.87 at 540. That's below its recent highs. We've got the mixed on the currencies. We've got Bitcoin down 1,000, but still above 90 at 92, almost exactly 92,100. Ethereum up again, up a little bit here at 33.30. So what's going on? Why is it? Well, I think we've heard in previous conversations that Ethereum has a different niche. And so theoretically, Ethereum could be going up even as Bitcoin goes down, which is what's been happening the last couple of days. We have got the pre-market right now is mixed. We've got Dow up 41. The Dow was up a lot more than let's see, let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick just to confirm. We've got the Dow was up a full percent. We got the NASDAQ that was up 0.32, and we had the S&P up 0.67. So the Dow had a much better day. The rate cuts impact Dow type companies more than NASDAQ and more than S&P. The smaller companies, the manufacturing companies, et cetera, are going to be more impacted. And so the S&P, though, is now within 1%, again, less than 1% of the all-time high, about 69.50, and also only about 3% from my goal of 7,100, less than 3% actually of 7,100, which is where I think we'll be before the end of the year. I think we're going to have an amazing last 3 weeks here. Okay, let's go back then. Well, that was it. Okay, so later on tonight, Brian Wang, that'll be fun. And last night, I'm going to continue to point you to amazing conversation that I had with Nicholas Gibbs. You should also be buying these. Another order came in today. We need more and more orders. I've got about 48 left, I think. Be sure to mention camouflage or stainless steel. The information is right below. It's really easy to see down there. You can find it and know how to place your order. PayPal.me/Randy Kirk. 25 for one, 45 for two, 65 for three, and $20 a piece if you order 5 or more. And then you should buy the book. One guy today was talking about how he read, this was in a major news magazine, talking how he read, I think it was 12 books over the course of a year on AI, and then got accepted as an employee at Google because they could see that he knew what he was talking about when it came to AI. This is an amazing place to start, is our book. Our book is, look, we don't get into the deep technical. This guy probably read some books that were much deeper than our book, but our book is technical. But we try to keep it readable, just like the program. You know, Jeff said a lot of technical things last night, just now. And Brian Wang will say some technical things tonight when we have him on the show. But in every single case, we try to keep it in the range of the use of words and the use of technology, that it becomes understandable. You know how we do that? If it's understandable to me, it's probably understandable to you. Because my degree in science is psychology, and you know that's a hard science. All right, that's about all I got for you right now. As always, it's been great talking to you.